Oh,
It's your razor.
I think if it's safe on your balls, it's safe anywhere.
No. I'm not saying can like it's a razor, Josh. I know how technology works.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if you did. I mean, no judgment. I'm just trying to help you out.
He's asking if you put it on your balls, can you then put it on your face?
I mean, like man code.
I don't care about that. Yeah,
because it works on your face, guys.
Here he did it.
I can't fucking go to a barber right now, and I mean, it works really well.
Dude, that's fine. That's fine. I would totally do that.
It works really well.
That is classic. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code ClockDodgers at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use the code ClockDodgers. Your balls will thank you.
Cannot play with him. Cannot win with him. Cannot cope with him. Can't do it.
You play to win the game.
I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. Not a game. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Touchdown! You are now locked in to the Clock Dodgers podcast.
Clock Dodgers podcast.
Welcome to the Clock Dodgers podcast. I am your host, Neal Maligno. I don't know who's with me today since the other guys who normally join me have decided recently that it's call-out season. So I'm just going to speak into the void and see if Adam or Josh happen to be here today. Adam from the Windy City, you around?
The boys are back in town.
All right, so Adam's here. That's one. We're 1 for 1. Now, what's that other guy's name that used to be on the show all the time weekly? Joe?
Used to be on the show. There was a natural disaster in my town, and y'all are acting like I'm just slacking.
Yeah, it's Blaine.
Josh. Is that Josh? Is that his name?
Is it
Yeah,
Josh?
that's my
I
name.
thought it was Blaine.
Oh, Blaine?
Blaine?
Pretty sure it's Blaine.
Blaine's an
Blaine?
Oklahoma name. It is an Oklahoma name. I remember he was from Oklahoma.
Is it?
I think so.
It's like a millennial Oklahoma name. It's not a real Oklahoma name.
We're just glad you made it. You survived the travesty that hasn't been on the news, that hasn't been anywhere reported. But you're here because of this.
It
We're
happened.
happy.
It happened.
I don't know, man. There's been a lot of rumors swirling about why you weren't here. So it's been been a few weeks. I think if anything, Adam, Josh not being here for, what was it, 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month? Who knows what it was? It just lets us know how out in the woods this guy is. Because,
I mean,
come on.
he got that manscaped and then he disappeared. It was weird. It lined up kind of perfectly.
It kind of
It's like as soon as he got manscaped, he was just gone.
Yeah. Mr. Oklahoma 2020 just prancing around Oklahoma City over here.
Let me just tell you, first of all, there have been some Manscaped benefits, but that was not the reason I was gone. Okay? We had an ice storm in October, and that means that all of the trees still had their leaves, and when you put ice on all of that, it's very bad. It's very, very, very bad.
We'll take your word for it.
There are still major intersections in Oklahoma City that don't have working streetlights, and we're just taking turns out here. It's the Wild West.
I'm going to need somebody from Oklahoma City who listens to the podcast to reach out to us and let us know if this is real or not. Because
It's real.
Because Neal doesn't have the time for Google.
I don't.
I have sent you guys pictures. Don't act like I don't have evidence.
Listen, when I lose power out here because of hurricanes, you guys don't got to ask questions. It's on the news. It's reported everywhere. I don't know what this guy's talking about. It just seems like if everyone's losing power, it's a big deal. I would hear about it. But I'll use Google. I'll see if I can get some Oklahoma listeners out there to hit us up. But we'll see. Let's move on from Josh. He's back. We don't want to lose him. We don't want some more ice to fall on his house. So before that happens, let's just go a little further into the episode here, guys. Okay? Quick shout out to all the Clock Dodgers listening, the Derek Carr truthers, the zero running back practitioners, the standard scorer participators, and even the Jarek McKinnon deniers. We appreciate you guys for listening as always. We appreciate you bearing through, these guys calling out week in and week out, week in and week out, week in and week out. We're here as always. Hey guys, I was also looking at, how I told you guys that on the downloads, when you look at the downloads, you can see where people are listening from.
That is the weirdest thing, to think that someone like in Morocco is listening.
Yeah. So I was kind of like having fun with it, just, jumping around, looking at it, seeing what's going on. We had some people in Europe listening, man, on a weekly basis. Like, shout out to those people, man. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just like illegally downloading for us, hooking up our numbers or something. I don't know,
sure, yeah.
Definitely. Not even an ocean can come between us, because they're listening weekly, and I love it. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Europeans listening. Some in Ireland. It's pretty cool. I'll show you guys one day. One day when you guys are, here for a month straight, be privy to those kind of things. But let's go ahead and talk about football, since that's what we're here for. That's what the listeners are here for. We'll do a little warm up. I haven't heard a victory lap from Josh in a while, so let's let Josh start with the victory laps. Do you have any victory laps to take, sir?
Well, as I'm looking over my wide receiver ranks, I see DK Metcalf at number 2 in PPR points per game. So that feels like a victory lap. And then Keenan Allen is also up pretty high. And I was on Keenan Allen. For all of the horrible DJ Moore takes I might have had, I was also drafting Keenan Allen. So I'm happy to see him up there.
Yeah, the Raiders were letting him catch everything he wanted to last week.
You can't stop Keenan Allen. You can only hope to contain him.
This is true. So that's all you have for this week, right? That's it? A little light week.
That's not enough?
A little light week. No, it's all right. We'll take it. It's a little light, but I appreciate it. Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, you have been championing those two around. I have some light ones too, man. Gabriel Davis, 70 yards and a touchdown. I don't know. It feels like everyone on the Bills can score and get a lot of yards. Every week it happens, it feels like. So, hey, Gabriel Davis, the rookie's in the mix. Antonio Gibson scored another touchdown. McKinnon scored another touchdown. Darren Waller scored another touchdown. All my boys are staying consistent out here, getting you points. So it feels good. I do want to take kind of a weird victory lap, and I know I keep getting a little pushback from Adam and stuff about this, but on Jonathan Taylor, man. Not that he's been disgusting or anything like that, but I just would like to get some credit for the fact that it's clear if Mac didn't get hurt that he would be super relevant in this backfield right now. I feel like I need a light jog around the old course here for this one. Adam, are you going to push back on that?
Nah, man, you can take your lap.
All right, that's cool. See, there's people out here going to try to trip me on that lap, but yeah, I feel like it's worthy.
No, I mean, at this point, it's pretty evident that Jonathan Taylor is gonna need another year before he really shows us anything, which is far from what a lot of the fantasy industry expected coming into this year. And you were someone who, whether it was based completely on Marlon Mack or not, was definitely off him coming into the season, and it was the right call.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just saying to temper expectations, and so far it's held true. So that's good to see. And I don't think he'll be fine, but I'm just, it feels good to see that it is ringing true right now for me. Adam, what victory laps do you have today, sir?
Man, I do want to shout out Garrett Gilbert right off the top. 15 fantasy points. He came through.
Very Derek Carr-like.
I mean, it was just cool to, talk him up on the pod, 3 weeks ago, hoping that they would start him, and they couldn't, and they wouldn't, and then they finally did, and he almost beat Pittsburgh for him, but it definitely was not to be, but that was fun. And then, it seems kind of irrelevant at this point to keep shouting out the best quarterback in the game, but Kyler Murray, week after week, has been just outperforming everyone, and I was huge on him last year. I was still on him this year, and it's just, it's one of those things where I didn't draft nearly enough of him because of how high he was going in drafts, but the teams that I have him on, it's just crazy the amount of production that he's had. And then outside of that, Wayne Gallman had another big top 12 week, which has been huge. And then at the wide receiver position, there hadn't been anybody last week that really hit huge for me, but I do want to shout out Juju for, topping 20 PPR points again. And having a week that, gives me the glimmer of hope that he might still be relevant as a every week starter in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he definitely did his thing out there. He definitely he definitely put up some points, man. Just let's see if he can put them together. Let's see if he can string those weeks together, man. Anything else, Adam?
Whatever could you be talking about, Neal?
I thought maybe there was something you may want to talk about.
I got a little victory lap that I gotta take while I can, which is a victory lap that I really, really, really hope stays for the next 7 weeks. But currently in the Drafters Best Ball Championship, I am somehow in first place of over 10,000 teams, and it feels pretty surreal. It'd be pretty epic if that were to hold. But at this point, it's really cool to be there at this spot. So yeah, that's freaking awesome. And yeah, let's hope that team can hold for 7 weeks.
Yeah, man. Congrats on that. Like you said, hopefully it holds. It's asking a lot.
Yeah, it's a long time. But I mean, to even have a team that's like that steadily in contention is pretty surreal. So yeah, it'd be sweet if it hits. I mean, that's why you play those large tournaments, is to take those opportunities. And I've never had that sort of success before. I've definitely done well in best ball for many years now, but that would be awesome.
For
so
sure.
Yeah, let's hope it holds.
Dope. All right, so that was some good victory laps. If you guys want to hear stuff that we did wrong, go back and listen to the last episode. That's all I can tell you, because that's where you can find them at. Injuries. Before we get into anything else, injuries, I just want to hit on some of the bigger players, some of the bigger names. Your boy Christian McCaffrey found his way back onto the injury list. Adam,
man, I jinxed him. You guys know I did, because I'm on Twitter. I'm in the group chat talking about how Mike Davis is completely irrelevant again, and CMC is going to be out a week. It's it's wild, but hats off to you guys. I mean, you were both on Mike Davis. It was definitely the right call. I mean, he has been nothing but extremely productive in CMC's absence, so he should be once again this week. I think it's hilarious. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to DFS at all, but on DraftKings, he's the stone minimum at 4,000 this week, so he'll basically be 100% owned. So I haven't really been playing any DraftKings, but I thought that was super interesting. But yeah, I mean, Mike Davis must start in all your lineups this week.
For sure. Yeah, and Christian McCaffrey has such a good game, man. Sucks. It is what it is, right? I'll just keep it's just the way this year has gone, man. You just got to kind of roll with these punches that we can hit with. Kyle Allen had season-ending ankle surgery. There we go. He had surgery, ended his season. So if you were using him in Superflex or any of those, Scott Fisher Bowl, any league like that, that's over. It's done. David Montgomery, I don't know if you have anything new on this since you're a Bears fan, Adam, but he's going through concussion protocol. I don't think he's been cleared or anything yet.
Yeah, hasn't been cleared as of Wednesday when we're recording this. I mean, even if he is cleared, I think at this stage he's definitely at best flex worthy. I mean, he definitely has not lived up to expectations. Let's just say that much.
So are you guys all in on Ryan Nall?
Dude, I have so much Ryan Nall.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Before this or on waivers?
He's just I've just always been looking at David Montgomery and expecting him to stall out and fail. So Ryan Nall has made his way onto a lot of my rosters.
I mean,
you bet on the right horse for that purpose. Like, betting on Montgomery to fail was probably the right move. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Nall. I mean, I think that that is the Andy Reid coaching tree. So I do think that the Bears scheme, good plays in the running game. Nall did pretty well last week. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody who's going to be flex worthy in Montgomery's absence.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be it's one to pay attention to. Another concussion guy out there is David Johnson. I haven't seen that he's been cleared yet either. So your boy Duke, Josh. Your boy Duke Johnson.
I gotta tell you, like the Duke Johnson candle is running out of wax. It needs to happen. It needs to happen now.
It has to happen in week 10, man. It's gonna be this is, if he can't do it in week 10, man, it's over for him, buddy. This is it. If David Johnson doesn't play, of course. And one other guy that I want to make sure I mention, I don't know if you guys have any other injuries or players that were injured that you want to add on here, but Preston Williams, you guys know we're all a big fan of him. He was placed on the IR because of his foot injury last week. So
man, he had like 16 points in one quarter. It was crazy.
Yeah,
for him to get injured like that. I mean,
it's funny because go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I was going to say it seemed like him and Tua were perfect as far as chemistry went. And, you know, when a quarterback change like that happens, it can often make changes schematically in how the offense operates. And it seemed like it was a great opportunity for Preston to break out. And it sucks. I own him literally everywhere.
Yeah, it does suck. Even last week when Jordan was on the show, he talked about Preston Williams. And then he hit me up on Twitter, I think it was, or somewhere he mentioned it. Or maybe he just mentioned it on Twitter in general. And then, like, literally 2 minutes later, a tweet goes out, Preston Williams keep carting off the field or whatever. I was like, oh, man. He's like, it's all right. He scored enough points already for the game. We're good. So I was like, man, that's crazy. But, yeah, I don't have any other guys besides those. Those are some of the major injuries, some of the guys to keep your eyes on. Those are the big, the newer guys to the injury list this week. So, yep, you got to adjust your lineups for week 10 because I don't think any of those guys are going to play. I doubt the concussion guys will be back. So we'll see how that plays out. Did you guys have anybody that I missed on that list that we need to point out?
I think Joe Mixon's set to miss another week. I think Miles Sanders and Kenyon Drake are both supposed to be back this week. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at the running back position on basically every team. You're going to be wanting to watch all the way on to Sunday to see those, game time decisions.
For sure.
I mean, they've been huge all year. I know this has happened to Neal, but it happened to me again last week where I go through my lineups, check literally an hour before kickoff, and somehow still leave people in my lineup. Just one, but left somebody in a lineup that wasn't playing because it's just there's so many injuries. It's like you have to like comb through everything with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure you're getting everybody out who isn't playing.
Yeah, there's so many injuries, and then you got the COVID stuff going on, and everything's just crazy. Like, if you have a bunch of leagues and you have a bunch of different players across those teams, like last week, it was horrible, man. Like, I had all these guys in it. When I looked at it, I'm like, why did I put this guy in over this guy? What is going on here? Like, I was so screwed up, and I definitely got to knock off some leagues next year. It's just, it gets out of hand, and you always get to that point in the season where you're like really into like one team or two teams, and you're like, I don't even care about these other teams at this point. You know what I mean? Like, so it gets even worse, and you don't want to like stop, adjusting the lineup. So, yeah, definitely, it's definitely been a trying season. If you make it through this season and you fare well, you did pretty well. Let's move on to trust issues. Trust issues this week is a rest of season edition. All right, guys, I need to make sure you guys are aware of that so you don't think we're talking about just this week when we talk about trust issues. But the first one I have for you guys is Evan Ingram is a top 10 tight end rest of season. And just let me put that out there that he had 9+ targets the last 3 weeks, but he's only had one touchdown this season. That was last week. So Evan Ingram, top 10 tight end rest of season. Adam.
I'm going to trust it. He's very borderline. I mean, it's hard to trust Daniel Jones at all right now. Mm-hmm. But with the given situation at the tight end position being what it is, it's almost impossible not to have him in your top 10. We know he's talented. That's hard to say of 15 or more tight ends right now. So I think for me, weekly, he's somebody who you're probably rolling out there every week, regardless of matchup.
You agree, Josh?
I think he might make it top 10, but I think to matter at tight end, you have to be top 4. I mean, it's Kels, Kittle, Waller. Hawkinson is at number 4 right now in points per game. And then it's just this huge slew of guys who score between 8 and 11 fantasy points per game.
Yeah.
And that goes all the way down to tight end 26.
It's a good point. I mean, as far as like with this, I feel like for me, like I have to trust it just because of those targets, because they have stayed pretty consistent and you would assume they do. You just want to see him get more done with it. And if he's not scoring touchdowns, if your tight end's not scoring touchdowns on a halfway decent basis, it makes it hard because, like you said, there's 20 tight ends, who could score a touchdown one week and pass any other tight end up almost, it feels like sometimes. So yeah, it's a weird position, but that's why I was curious what you guys would say about this. It sounds like we all we all trust it, but we're also well aware that this position is, a weird one, and anybody could just fly up it or fly down it with just an extra catch or a touchdown in a week, right? I mean, it's just a fragile position, I guess, but it's nice to see that consistency in targets. I know that matters a lot, Josh. It matters a lot, man.
It does matter. It matters. I think for me, like in Dynasty, I'm not going to pay very much for an Evan Ingram because, like, reality is Jimmy Graham exists and he gives you most of the production and he costs a lot less.
Mm-hmm. Man, there were such high hopes for Evan Ingram at one point, man.
There really were. He came out of the gates. His first year was just outstanding, and he looked like he was going to be the next member of that, top 3, top 4 tight end club. But it doesn't really look that way to me anymore.
Yeah, that whole team's a mess too, though. So
yeah, Barkley,
it's hard to know if they were to, have a coaching change, a quarterback change, those sort of changes, like how much his career can turn around still. I mean, he's shown a lot of talent. He, like you said, is getting a ton of targets right now. So I think it's just a matter of, this is not going to be his year.
Yeah. Hey, if he can get through it healthy, that's a positive because he's had some injury issues a lot in the last couple of years. So that'll be a positive in itself. The next guy I have here on the list, I've actually seen Josh talking about him a lot this week in chats and on Twitter. DJ Chark is a must start on a weekly basis, rest of season. And just to preface it, he's had 2 weeks that you would consider, bust worthy, 3 average weeks, not that great, and 2 weeks that he just, boomed. So, Josh, rest of season, must start, trust or trust issues?
I mean, the thing about DJ Chark is that in the last 3 weeks, his air yards have been 193, 118, and 172. And those are big boy air yards. Like they've had the quarterback change. He's had some injury issues that he started the season with. I don't think that you go over 100 air yards 3 weeks in a row without being a quality player. And I think that maybe finally we're just at a place where things are not holding him back.
Interesting. So do you trust him then? Rest of the year?
Yeah, I have traded for him in a league, maybe a couple of leagues, and I think that if buying DJ Chark right now I think he's the kind of player that can actually shift an outcome for you.
I'm not mad at that. I trust him. I like him a lot. I've liked him for a long time since he's been, balling out. Last year he popped out on the scene, and we've all been fans of him. And we know this team has also had a lot of, crazy situations where we have, Keelan Cole, and then we have DJ Chark, and then we have Chenault, and then it's, it's just there's a lot going on there. And then these quarterbacks have been, switching left and right here. Injuries. He's hot one week. He's hurt the next week. He's bad the next week. It's crazy. So it's like I would say consistency hasn't necessarily been a running theme for, DJ Chark to get, to really lock something down. But I know me and you both want to trust him, Josh. Adam, how do you feel about DJ Chark rest of the season?
I mean, I cannot not have trust issues because I don't know what the Jaguars are doing. I mean, they rolled out Jake Luton last week. Is that going to be the quarterback moving forward? If it is, I mean, obviously, we saw a pretty huge week from Chark, but in that we saw, I mean, ultimately from Luton, that was like the only guy he could target. So I'm overall concerned with that offense, and I just don't know how many weeks that works, where everything is running through one offensive wide receiver. I don't think that's something that's going to work week in, week out. James Robinson has been a rock for them, so maybe that creates enough, differentiation on that offense. But personally, right now, I don't want to bank on players that are on these, bottom 5 offenses. And I can't see the Jags as anything but that, even though they had a big week last week.
All right, that's fine. So trust issues for you on DJ Chark as a starter on a weekly basis going forward rest of the season. That's fine. That's good. That's good. A little differentiate, a little differential from us there, man. I like it. The next one is another player that's been, highly talked about, highly debated. A lot of big fans of his. J.K. Dobbins is a flex-worthy rest of season player. He's had 2 weeks out of 8 with double-digit scoring in PPR, but people are seeing it still not be swayed from the excitement for him. So J.K. Dobbins is a flex-worthy rest of season player. Josh, trust or trust issues?
I trust it. I think that the Ravens have made a shift here, and we saw Marquise Brown's air yards really dropped off because they were just pummeling him with volume, and unfortunately, it wasn't getting anywhere. And if you just look at what's happened in the last few weeks since week 7, J.K. Dobbins has been scoring 18.6 PPR per game. That's more than a flex option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you worried about Mark Ingram returning or Gus Edwards stealing touchdowns or anything at all that, you're concerned with, or you think that really regardless of what happens, he's pretty safe to you?
I think that what we are seeing, fingers crossed, is that Baltimore has figured out that they don't want to dump all of their offensive resources into a wide receiver that wasn't producing, and they've finally started to go a different way, and it's a lot more efficient. So I'm just hoping that even if Mark Ingram comes back, if they remain committed to the approach they are seeing now, that Mark Ingram can maybe take his slice of the pie away from Gus Edwards instead of Dobbins, and Dobbins can still be relevant.
Yeah, and you mentioned his points. Am I looking at something wrong here? I have 5 points last week.
No, that would be 5.5. Yeah, that'd be right.
Josh is in like 18 points, and I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. That was them against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was still that many then, though, either, PPR. But it could be whatever scoring you're in, depends, but obviously. But I don't think in straight up PPR he had that many points. I think it was like 30.
I made a mistake. I pulled it back up just to check it, and from starting at week 7 per game, he's at 9.3.
Okay.
Behind Gus Edwards at 13.1.
Yeah.
So that is more flex. I don't know what I did there, but
it's all good, man. I just want to make sure we got it right there. So yeah, so I see. For me, I have like some trust issues just because I actually like Gus Edwards a lot, and I feel like the Ravens do too. And then when Mark Ingram comes back, he just kind of muddies things up for me. And so I'm like, this team as a whole, I feel like is kind of like concerning, right? And so I don't know where the points are going to come from on a week-to-week basis. I don't know if it's J.K. Dobbins or not. Obviously, he's getting a little more work right now because Mark Ingram's not there, but I feel like he hasn't done nothing amazing to say, like, hey, like, we're going to move, less work for Gus Edwards, or when Mark Ingram comes back, we're not going to give him any work. Like, I'm not confident in it. So I have trust issues there, and I know he's really exciting. I know people love him. I know his talent is, crazy high. Adam, do you have trust issues with him, or do you trust him?
Super trust issues.
Yeah, okay. Let's make sure I'm not
This
crazy.
is a guy who's splitting carries right now and not really seeing any receiving work. I mean, they're targeting him, but he doesn't do anything with it. So right now it's just going to be a matter of if the game script favors them and Lamar's running well and that offense is just rushing the ball a ton, he'll be a recipient of some of that production. And because of that, I mean, he can have 100-yard weeks. He can have 100-yard and touchdown weeks. I just think it's going to be very tough to predict. And you're going to have a lot of these 5-point and sub 5-point weeks in there when he doesn't hit in those big, weeks where the running game is just plowing over the defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like this, man. So far, trust issues. We've all agreed on the first one pretty much. The second one, me and Josh agreed. Adam disagreed with us. On this one, I agree with Adam, and we disagree with Josh. Like, this is good. Let's see how the last one shakes out here. The last one we have on the table for trust issues is that Justin Herbert will finish the season as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He's currently, when I did my math, number 9 of all quarterbacks after 7 games that he's played. So, top 10, rest of season, Justin Herbert. Is it possible? Do you have trust or trust issues, Josh?
Justin Herbert.
Flip the papers around.
I like it. I like it because he's really slinging the ball as far as total air yards go. He's over 300 air yards per game, and he's doing a decent job of completing them. He's not throwing a lot of interceptions. You know, I don't see why not.
It's been fascinating. I've said before, I wasn't on the Justin Herbert, bandwagon coming into the season. I wasn't somebody who was like, jacked about, how this was going to play out. A lot of us didn't even believe he was going to play this year if, Tyrod Taylor stayed healthy and everything went as people expected. But here he is. He came in way earlier than people thought he would because of the freak incident with Tyrod Taylor. And man, they have not looked back. At first they were like, we're going to put him back on the bench. Remember when the coach was saying that? We're going to put him back on the bench. He was a backup for a reason. And here we are. Here we are today. He's in the top 10 right now, overall scoring so far. Adam, do you trust or have trust issues? I know it's hard. He's a rookie. You're asking a lot to say, that you trust any guy to end up in the top 10 of some position. But what are your feelings? Trust or trust issues on this, man?
I think it's hard not to trust him at this point. I mean, in 7 games, which is a pretty damn good sample size. I mean, at this point, he's only played like 1 or 2 less games. The only quarterbacks that have a higher point per game average than him are Mahomes, Dak, who's not even playing anymore, Russ, and Kyler. So, like, he's an elite company. I mean, when you compare him to Joe Burrow, who looked like, for all intents and purposes, was having one of the best rookie seasons ever by a quarterback, I mean, he's slaughtering him in fantasy points.
Yeah.
So,
like, if you give him any credit for being a rookie, Herbert is just a star.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call him anything less at this point. And the crazy thing is, it's not like he's just getting a ton of production with his legs either. It's mostly through passing. And, he definitely has that hybrid ability. But I think from what we're seeing from him, you really have to be starting him every week moving forward unless we see some just disastrous play from him for multiple weeks in a row. I mean, you have to be confident at this point. And he seems, at this point in the year, he's by far the waiver wire darling. He's by far the late round pick darling of the league because it's been a year where most of the top drafted quarterbacks are performing like the top drafted quarterbacks. I mean, if you look just on a points per game basis, the top 8 quarterbacks, 7 of those were probably being drafted in the top 10 because I already named most of them, but the ones that round out the top 8 would be Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson. So these are all guys who were essentially being drafted, as QB1s, top 10 QBs, relatively early in fantasy drafts, and Herbert's a guy that could have been picked up on waivers in almost every single league.
Yeah, it's been impressive. And you guys know I was paying extra close attention last week because he was playing the Raiders. And, I always put my extra focus there. It is what it is. And I'm just like, man, this dude's fucking good, man. Like, he is good. And, Austin Eckler's not even there right now. So he's got, a bunch of guys who are just, making it work in the backfield. And I don't know, man. Like, he looks really good. He makes really impressive plays and he puts it all together. So he's exciting. And like you said, at this point, it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to not put him in your lineup at this point. Just imagine if you're someone who drafted him in, dynasty, super flex leagues, or just dynasty in general. It's a great, great situation. But super flex leagues right now, man, if you drafted Justin Herbert late, you're loving it right now. You're loving it. So Justin Herbert, I wanted to make sure we got him in the episode because I love the guy, man. He's doing great. And it's hard for me to say that, being that the fact that he's a Charger. I just have my biases. You guys understand. Shout out to Justin Herbert. All right, let's move over to can he do that again? Can he do that again? I'm giving this first one to Josh to start out. I'm going to let Josh answer this one first. DJ Moore has had 2 consecutive weeks with only 2 receptions. Josh, can he do that again?
Dude, I don't understand what is happening, but it stinks. Yeah, he can do it again.
Man, if you listen to the episodes where we started the year and the drooling that was occurring, like Josh's mic was for sure wet after every episode.
I'm pretty sure Josh had him as his like wide receiver 2.
Yeah,
or at least top 5 for sure.
It was like
Devonta Adams, I think, was down around like wide receiver 30 or something.
He was like wide receiver 7.
Yeah,
and DJ Moore was ahead of him. I don't understand any of it.
I mean, what's crazy is Robbie Anderson outproducing him. Fine, yeah, he played with Adam Gase for years. We didn't know what he was going to be. He comes over to Carolina, and he just steals the target share and just keeps putting on a show. But now Curtis Samuel, too, who is like another one of your loves, it's got to be so bittersweet.
It's terrible.
I think that Curtis Samuel will be more flash in the pan. And Robbie Anderson, I don't know. I'm still hoping that we get like a late season hot streak out of DJ Moore, but this makes no sense to me.
If Curtis Samuel is a flash in the pan, we just want DJ Moore in the pan. Like, just get in there and do something. Be the salt on the food.
He has had some good weeks. Okay.
Oh man. All right. Well, he can't do it again, Josh.
I'm thoroughly disappointed.
You should be.
I don't understand how a player who checks so many boxes, all of them, comes in and just totally flops like this. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't really see any like warning signs that I overlooked. I guess it's just quarterback change.
Yeah, anyone who's hearing this right now, go back to
week 1. Speaking of quarterback change, sorry to interrupt, Neal, but speaking of quarterback change, shout out to Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I was not high on him coming into this year. You guys know I was not high on this offense basically as a whole. He is just – he's putting everything on the line each week, and, like, he's really showing me more than I ever expected. So I've been really impressed with what Bridgewater and what that entire offense has been able to do.
Yeah. He's been consistent. He's had some, much better weeks than others, but still, man, he's been doing pretty well, man. He's been making plays out there, which, like you said, you were concerned at first that this was all gonna gel and come together, and it's not perfect yet, but he definitely, like you said, we're seeing signs that it can work. The next one's someone that, DJ Moore, high expectations, flopping. This gentleman, no expectations, doing pretty good. James Robinson has 8 straight games scoring double digits in PPR. He has not had one game this year that he's played that he went below double digits in PPR. Can he do it again, Adam?
100%. I mean, you want volume at the running back position and you want health. And James Robinson has been healthy all year and he's been getting all the volume. It's crazy that on offense that, they're not bad. They've been putting up points. They've been competitive all year, but definitely is not like a premier offense by any stretch of the imagination. It's just had, a running back who another guy like Justin Herbert probably was drafted in no leagues on waiver wires everywhere and is out there winning people their fantasy championships, or will be almost undoubtedly.
Right.
I mean, through the year so far, he's running back 4 on the season. I mean, that's phenomenal. So I think one of the best things about him is his high floor. And I think that you can kind of expect that week in, week out.
He's the Justin Herbert of running backs this year, man. It just is what it is. Just the rookie just putting up numbers. Josh, any reason why this is going to stop, man?
No, he has been getting decent volume and outperforming it all season long.
Yep.
The only thing that I can think of that might be a reason to be concerned about James Robinson is it's kind of like the Jags pulled this guy out of a hat and he worked fine, and so maybe maybe I can tell myself a story where next year they just decide to pull another random name out of a hat and he works equally fine. But I just feel like if there's anything a running back can do to legitimize himself, James Robinson has done it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to not like this guy. He's getting 4.2 targets a game. Like, he's involved in the passing game, and he's in the top 10 in yards per reception.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that is a signal of skill, I would go to that. And he's got it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a legit concern too in dynasty leagues. You know, more importantly, as far as I don't think he'll be replaced next season, but there's definitely could be competition coming, you know, to share that backfield with. And so that's definitely, and there's players on the team even who could be a threat to that, you know, regardless. There's young guys there too. So,
you know, I feel like I made a mistake with looking at Chris Carson and saying, oh, he's undrafted, whatever, he'll be replaced. And Chris Carson just kept on saying, no, actually, I'm just the best running back on this team. And I feel like James Robinson's just going to do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely could. And it's kind of funny because following this, the next guy on my list here is another rookie running back who's having the exact opposite issue as far as getting work and carries and consistency. And that's Deandre Swift. He led the Lions backfield in carries in week 9. Adam, can he do that again?
No, and it's not because Devonta Freeman.
I'm always gonna throw DeAndre Swift questions at you first, man.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I mean, I just don't think he's going to get consistent usage there. Detroit has kind of been just a roulette wheel at running back for quite some time now. I don't have confidence in Matt Patricia sticking with one running back, so I don't have confidence in DeAndre Swift on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it was what's crazy is when you look at like his results so far. I mean, when he gets work, he produces. Like, he's not like he's, you know, getting some work, getting some carries, and you know, we're getting targets, and he's not doing anything with it. Like, he has done well when he gets the work, and of course, when he doesn't, it just, you know, or doesn't get enough of it or doesn't stay consistent with it, it doesn't work out well. But I mean, for the most part, every week that he's played, the more work he's got, the higher the results were as far as fantasy points go. And when he's gotten, you know, average, you know, attempts, or he's getting pretty good, he's even gets pretty good targets actually every game too. When he gets that, I mean, he makes something happen with it. So it's kind of, you know, it's still weird to watch this team continue to trot out, you know, all these other running backs when you have this guy that you know is talented, can do it. He's not really struggling in any capacity. But Josh, do you think he can lead this backfield again? I mean, he only had 13 attempts. Can he do that again and lead this backfield?
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm ready to say that DeAndre Swift is the best rookie running back, not named James Robinson. Like, of the guys who were drafted in the first round, give me DeAndre Swift, right?
Yeah, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire died last week. I'm sorry, guys. We should have covered that at the top. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hit by a car, never going to play again, according to Josh.
Ah, man.
Like, they brought in Le'Veon Bell. Clyde Edwards-Helaire played inefficiently. He played inefficiently through several weeks, and then they brought in a veteran who is now taking half of the workload.
You got Jonathan Taylor, you got J.K. Dobbins, you got Cam Akers. I mean, these guys. I mean, what about Antonio Gibson though? Let's do this right now. If you guys were drafting right now, we're setting your lineup right now, not thinking about opponent or anything else. Antonio Gibson or DeAndre Swift in your lineup more likely? DeAndre Swift?
I mean, I'm going to lean Antonio Gibson, but Gibson worries me too because they're using J.D. McKissick like a crazy amount there, and it makes no sense.
He's doing all right with it.
Antonio Gibson was a receiver. Like, it makes sense for him to catch the ball, and they're using him more in the running game and using someone else in the passing game. It just makes no sense.
It is funny. Everyone's like, are we sure this guy can carry the ball? I hear the Washington's like, oh, we'll show you. That's all we'll do with him. Well, that's all we'll do is let him run the ball. it's another one of those weird running back rookie situations. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see guys like Swift and Gibson, having these moments. It sucks to see other guys that we thought, would do better, struggling a little bit. But it just, again, it goes to show you, man, when you're playing Dynasty or you're drafted really late in even redraft, whatever, these guys, James Robinson, Zach Moss is starting to come on. Like we don't even talk about him that much, but he's starting to come on. Joshua Kelly doing decent in San Diego with the opportunity. So, these guys were the ones that were, later drafted, and they're outperforming some of the guys who were drafted much, much, much earlier. So, again, it's not a perfect science. We can't predict how these teams are going to, use guys and the success they're going to come out, out the gate with. But I just wish the Lions would stay consistent and just at least make DeAndre Swift the guy. And you can, give other guys some runs, but let him be the man there, man. Let him take over. But it is what it is. So, yeah, we all think he can do it again. It's whether the Lions will allow it. The last one here is another rookie. Man, a lot of rookies jumped onto my list this week. Tua put up 20-plus points last week. Adam, can you do it again?
Yeah, I mean, it was really very Jekyll and Hyde like. It's almost like they had training wheels on him the first week, but this week, I mean, this past week, he came out and he looked fantastic, and that offense was running just as well as it did under Ryan Fitzpatrick. So you guys, I mean, it's obvious they have weapons there. They lost Preston Williams, so I can understand a little bit of concern, but going up against the Cardinals, I mean, they're gonna need to score points. I think the game projects to be a shootout, so. Oh, wait, never mind. That was – I'm dumb. That was last week. I meant the Chargers. But, yeah, I mean, same thing with the Chargers, though. It still projects to be a shootout. And I think because of that, Tua is in a good position to be, a good spot start for anybody who's on bye. And then also just, somebody who, if you've been streaming, is definitely a good option.
Yeah, no, it definitely was it was good to see. Josh, are you excited about this, man? Do you think we can get a pretty strong performance like rest of season from Tua, or do you think we're going to get like dips, up and down?
I want to see Tua succeed just because in the future I want college quarterback prospecting to make sense. And if we're chasing the next Justin Herbert, like that just sounds very boring to me. I want Tua to work in the NFL because the next time a Tua comes along in college, I want permission to be excited about it.
That's fair. That's fair, man. That's fine. Yes, I mean, I think we're all excited about it, man. We're all excited. It looked good. It does suck that Preston Williams went down, but we are excited about it. And I'm happy to see because I know the first week was, was a little rough. It wasn't what people wanted to see or what he wanted, how for it to play out. But it was good to see, more of an uptick of a week for him. And hopefully he can, like I said, get some consistency with that, make it happen. But it was definitely exciting, to watch. It was definitely a lot. It made watching the Dolphins game a lot of fun. Just kind of rooting for the guy and stuff. So it was good to see, man. It was good to see. We did get some listener questions that I want to make sure we get to before we start to go down to not so obvious locks of the week and stuff like that. The first one we got is from it's from Austin, man. Shout out to Austin, one of the best listeners of this podcast. Austin_G_H. If you're looking to follow him or interact with him or respond to his question, even you guys can feel free as listeners of the show to reach out to these people and answer the question too. It's not just us. We share this love here. So Austin asks, could Travis Fulham, however you want to say it, be the next Terrell Owens that the Eagles have been looking for? Or is he a one-season wonder? Adam.
I'm going to say he's probably more of a one-season wonder. And I don't mean this in like a dramatic sense. I think he's still going to be fantasy relevant for years to come. But I think what we've seen from him in, the 3 weeks that he's had huge production is essentially it's a situation that just has them funneling targets to him. And we already saw it last week with Jalen Reagor coming back, that his targets dropped from double digits down to 7 last week, and Reagor got 6 targets. So I think as other options in that offense get healthy, they're just going to look to spread the ball around more, and he's just not going to be as viable. So I don't see him being like a TO type player. But as far as somebody who's going to be worthy of a fantasy start, I mean, moving forward, he basically is flex worthy or wide receiver 2-3 worthy from here on out. I mean, he definitely seems like he should be getting enough targets. I just don't know if he's going to have that huge upside of, those 13 target games that allow him to have just these highlight reel, performances.
Yeah, and it's super important to mention also that Alshon Jeffrey is back at practice too. So that matters a lot in this case. So, the rookie's back, Rager's back, Jeffrey's going to be back. Like this is clearly going to affect this man. And again, like you said, it sucks because it's not a knock on him. It's nothing that he can, do anything about. It just is what it is. Now, moving forward, I'm not going to knock him for that. And I'm not going to say that, he's not relevant. Like you said, he definitely has still fantasy, value. So he's a fun guy to actually like kind of target in trades if you're in Dynasty. And to kind of watch how this plays out, but wait to see the targets reduce and then go trade for him. Hoping that the person thinks it's over, it's done, and just like see how this plays out. Like is Alshon going to be there after this year? Like what's going to happen? He could be a good player next year and maybe have more of a clear role. So I think he's a fun guy to like target at this point. But Josh, do you feel one season wonder here, or Terrell Owens? Or it doesn't have to be Terrell Owens, just a consistent force in the Eagles offense.
I feel like he's probably a number 2 wide receiver who is capable of carrying more weight when he has to carry more weight, but he's always going to have that susceptibility to target competition.
Is it like Marvin Jones like?
Yeah. I was thinking Mohamed Sanu, but Marvin Jones is another good name to pull out there.
Yeah, it's one of those guys.
And we're just crossing our fingers and hoping to God that he's not Nelson Aguilar.
What? Don't do that. Don't do that. There's no Nelson Aguilar shade on this podcast, sir.
I understand that Nelson Aguilar has come up big for the Raiders, but he is the poster boy for I get targets when people are hurt.
Unbelievable. Josh will not be on next week's episode. Let me go ahead and tell you, there will be no ice storm. But no Nelson Aguilar slander, sir. All right, Austin. I hope we answered it there. I think we covered that one. The next one, Beryl, another amazing listener of the show, Beryl Joffrey at Beryl Joffrey. You guys can message him or follow. He's asking, are DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel basically just the new Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks situation where all pretty damn good, but never on the same week, and will kill you basically trying to predict it. So, Adam, I want you to go on this one first because I know you have a lot of love for these Rams wide receivers. So I'm curious your thoughts on what Barrel's asking here.
I get where Barrel's coming from in this regard. Just that last year it seemed like the Rams had the best wide receiver core, but as the year wore on, it was extremely difficult to predict which of these wide receivers was going to go off. And then, if you guys remember, it was Tyler Higbee through the end of the season. So in that regard, I don't see that happening in Carolina because I don't really think that they have any other options outside of these 3 guys to be fantasy relevant. I also don't think it's the same just in regards of Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp have both kind of been top 24 wide receivers in that offense. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson maybe could do that, but I really see Carolina more as like a Robbie Anderson is going to get the bulk of the targets there. Curtis Samuel is going to be used the most uniquely, and DJ Moore is going to be more like a move the chains kind of receiver in that offense. So for me, just the style in which they play and kind of how they're going to be utilized, they don't be similar, but I think similar in the sense that it'll be tough to predict. Maybe. I think Robbie Anderson's going to be pretty damn consistent, though. So I don't know if I would agree. But in that same right, I think Cooper Kupp was pretty damn consistent last year, too. So I don't know. I see the similarities, but not necessarily in the it's super difficult and will kill you trying to predict it.
Yeah, it's a little less difficult because Robbie Anderson's good and DJ Moore isn't, right, Josh?
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. Throw to me. I'm so glad that you asked that. Yeah, so like the Rams offense is super starved for air yards. Like Cooper Kupp, 64 air yards per game. Robert Woods, 55. And if you go over to Carolina, Anderson and Moore are at least getting 80 air yards per game. So I think this is an opportunity for me to kick Jared Goff and say that he's trash. And and I just am really, really hoping that we see a late season flip to DJ Moore getting the targets.
Adam, this guy has dissed Jared Goff and Nelson Aguilar in the last 3 minutes. Are we sure we missed him?
Man, all I gotta say is this. When Jared Goff has a top 5 week this week, you guys just remember how good he is. And also, while we're on the topic, hey guys, how bad is Brandon Cooks? Is he bad? Because to me, he looks like he's really good, like week after week. It's super interesting how that works. You know, when you get rid of a terrible coach, how it can change an offense, and how no matter what team Brandon Cooks goes to, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
just wanted to get that in there.
He's a pretty good backup to Will Fuller.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. But as such, he's still like a top 24, top 30 wide receiver, which most people were thinking he wouldn't come close to this year.
Yeah, there was definitely some people who were concerned. I'll give you credit there. The last question we have, because we pushed this episode back a day, somebody pushed this episode back a day with no ice in the forecast.
Is me?
Yes. We had a question which is about waivers, which for most are done and passed, but do you guys want to answer it as a waiver wire question this week? It's from Brad Duff, at Brad Duff 9 on Twitter, if you're going to follow. He's asking what was our 3 top waiver additions for week 10. Do you guys want to approach this as just players that you actually did add this week that you feel really strong about? Obviously, at this point, it's like I said, it's passed for some people in waivers. So by the time they hear this episode, or do you want to look towards the future for next week? How do you guys want to answer Brad's question here?
I mean, as far as looking forward towards next week, preemptive pickups, if you play in leagues that do play defenses, I do like preemptive pickups, especially when you have a team that is performing so poorly in the NFL right now. So I think if you can pick up the Chargers, who are going to play the Jets next week, or even the Vikings, who are going to play the Cowboys, those are fine, like reach ahead pickups, especially coming down the stretch. You need to win games. Those are the type of things that can swing games in your favor. As far as like particular players, I don't have anything that's jumping off,
Yeah, maybe a little too soon. Josh, do you have any players that you did pick up on waivers this week that you really were excited about, that it's potentially maybe they haven't been picked up in a league, or they're kind of a sleeper waiver pick more than the obvious that would have been snatched up instantly?
Okay, so players I'm picking up on waivers this week: Tyler Ervin, wherever I could get him; Kalen Ballage, Richie James had a big week. I feel like that one is probably point chasing a little more than the rest, but I'll go ahead and point chase with the end of my bench in Dynasty. And going a little bit deeper, Salvin Ahmed. I picked up him wherever I could. Also, I don't know
running backs.
Well, yeah. Besides Richie James, that's what I like, though. I like my bench to be full of backup running backs.
That's fair. That's fine. I do kind of, since you brought him up, Kalen Ballage. First of all, can we just, again, give credit to guys who get away from Adam Gase? I mean, it's getting a little obvious, right? I mean, for anyone, I've had people, debate with me on Twitter about this. There's no magic, hocus pocus going on here, but I mean, it's just kind of a fact at this point. But do you guys think that, I mean, if you're picking up Kalen Ballage, like, are you really thinking that he's going to be anything in this offense, or is it just because, guys are beat up, Eckler's out, all this kind of stuff? Or do you really think that he could, kind of find a home here?
Kalen Ballage has been on so many teams this year that I quit picking him up until this week. So he did something like he burned me. But I honestly, I don't think that Kalen Ballage is very good.
Yeah.
I think that he might fill a hole for a week or 2 or 3 if we're like super lucky. But I think that Kalen Ballage is destined for the CFL.
Yeah, it's important to notice. I mean, I don't know how much they'll use him, but also Justin Jackson last week got hurt, like the first play of the game against the Raiders, so that's why he got his chance. So that they have a lot of players there, man. Justin Jackson, Joshua Kelly, Austin Eckler when he comes back. They got Pope. So I mean, they have a lot of people, and they don't have any issue just constantly rotating them. So I wouldn't get too caught up in him for anyone who's thinking about it, because I know people get excited when they see these guys, pop off the, off one week and like, oh, it's my chance to get a guy that's on waivers and kill it. So yeah, I mean, we were a little late to this, Brad. What we'll do is we'll get a question in for Brad next week for waivers again. So we'll have
You know who I'm like kind of stupid excited about is I really feel like Deontay Foreman has overtaken Jeremy McNichols as the backup to Derrick Henry, and Deontay Foreman, back in his Houston Texans days was like a downhill runner, kind of like miniature Derrick Henry. So I feel like God forbid, if something bad happens to Derrick Henry, that Deontay Foreman could be a real sensation.
Yeah, I was excited for him.
That's a neat call.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. It's a deep stash.
Yeah, he is. I was excited for him when he got drafted back in the Houston days, and then just everything went to shit. But yeah, it'd be cool to see him get a, I mean, obviously that's, you're saying if Henry gets hurt, which would suck, but it's just, it's a good move. It's a good stash, and see how it plays out. So Brad, again, we'll have this question next week's episode as well to get you these a little earlier, but it was fun to talk about some waivers there, man. All right, let's jump over to not so obvious locks of the week. Last week, both of you gentlemen weren't here. I had Jordan on. Jordan had the better call of the week for between me and him, but in reality, when I hit you guys up after the episode, we threw it up on Twitter. Josh gave us DJ Dallas. I forget. Oh, you had Cole Beasley, right, Adam?
I did indeed.
Yeah, so I think Dallas had the most points. It was like 11 points in PPR, I believe, if I looked at this correctly. I don't know if we want to give Josh a win here, Adam, or do we want to, penalize him?
Seeing as there was an extra person this week and we all did worse, I think we got to give it to him.
Okay. So Josh is up now. He has 3 wins. It pains me to say this. Man, if Damian Harris didn't get hurt, maybe he could have stole Josh's glory here for Jordan. It is what it is. It is what it is, fellas. Josh, because you won, you get to go first.
So I feel like I have established a brand and obvious picks here, and I really want to be loyal to it. So if I told you that a certain player was the wide receiver 30 on the season, would you tell me that was too obvious of a player to pick?
No, I mean, it's fine. It is not the obvious pick that I definitely thought you were going to take, so I'll probably take now. But yeah, all right, cool. What are you doing?
DJ Chark. Give me DJ Chark. I believe in what is happening there. I think that this is really DJ Chark taking off.
All right, that's fine. I mean, it's fair because for me, it's like we just talked about the inconsistency that we've had in this offense with them and Chark himself. So I'm fine with you putting DJ Chark on this list. I have no problem with it. Do you guys want to make it going forward so that it's a little harder on us that the player to win has to hit a certain amount of points?
No, I think we do a good job of making it objective enough. You got to just realize that when you pick somebody like DJ Chark coming off of a fantasy week where he scored like 30 fantasy points, that expectations are going to be a little different than they were when you picked DJ Dallas a week ago. If you get 11 points this week, we're going to laugh at you. But if you get 20 points or 18 points or something, it's fine. I mean, that's just the difference. And we all kind of can subjectively impose that because it's pretty evident when, you pick somebody like DJ Chark, there's still somebody who, is trying to make a decision with him, and Josh is saying, get him in your lineup. And I don't think that's bad and unhelpful. I think that's definitely helpful, because I know that there's leagues that I have him in, and it's not like he's a locked-in starter every week.
Right. No, it's definitely fair. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, we'll continue to move the bar. You see, we don't create written rules in stone here. On the Cloud Daughters podcast, we just say we'll move the bar constantly on guys so that they can't get comfortable. And I like that. I like that, John. I like that, Adam. I like that idea, Adam. Since you did say, Adam, that Josh didn't take the player you thought he was going to take, I want you to go. No, I'm going to let you go because I want to see who it was that you thought. And I'm curious because I think I know who you're going to say.
I thought you'd take him because if we're staying on brand, one of you guys has to take him.
I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, I can't have no one take him. Fine. I'm going to take Duke Johnson this week. I mean, with David Johnson expected to be out there, I mean, Duke looked great last week. That offense has just been clicking, moving on all cylinders, essentially, over the last few weeks. I think it's a great situation for him, and ultimately, in a game against the Browns that I expect to be potentially a shootout, I think it's a great situation for him. And really, I don't really know who else is there. It's probably the only shot that we're ever going to get of Duke ever having a big game, and it's just crazy to me that neither one of you guys said it.
Okay. No, I love that pick. I actually had him on my thing here on my sheet. So
I want to lose now. I want Duke Johnson to be a thing so badly that I would like to lose lock of the week.
It's just I can't believe that I had to say that.
He was on my list. I wanted to see if you were going to take him first.
I mean, of course. It just seems so obvious, but okay.
Yeah. So, if David Johnson's out, Duke Johnson definitely was a great pick here. I'm going to go with the guy definitely that I've never picked before. He's actually going against my Raiders. I'm trying to change my luck here because whenever I seem to go with a Raiders wide receiver or some guy that I like, it seems to not play out well for me. And then like the next week they do great. So I'm not picking any Raiders wide receiver because I don't want to curse any player on my team this week. And I don't want to keep, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So I'm going to go versus my Raiders, Broncos wide receiver, Tim Patrick. I feel good about this. He got a touchdown last week. Drew Lock is back. They're starting to feel, they're starting to get things moving here. They're putting up some points, and the Raiders are known to get in some shootouts. I don't know why Tim Patrick, all 6'4" of him, can't score a touchdown against the Raiders this week. So I feel good. It's at Las Vegas. Not that matters because there's no fans there, but I feel good about Tim Patrick this week. I feel like it's not too safe of a pick. It's not DJ Chark. It's a little more down the list. But
I thought for sure you were picking Phillip Lindsay, so this is interesting.
Yeah, I'm switching it up a little bit, man. I'm trying to break away from my my trends a little bit. I'm trying to find another player to pick with. So I feel good about Tim Patrick. So we got Tim Patrick, we got DJ Chark. I feel like my back's already against the wall in that situation here, and then Duke Johnson, who was the first guy on my list, but I wanted to let Adam take him because once Adam got excited about Josh not taking him, I wanted Adam to get him. So those are our three. We will throw them up on Twitter to allow the Twitterverse to see how one of us has a big advantage. I'm assuming DJ Chark will get the most votes. Do you think he will over Duke Johnson?
I think a lot of people are really out on the profile of DJ Chark, and they think that he was a one-year wonder, and maybe they're right, but the peripheral numbers, air yards, are really looking great.
Yeah, the Twitter polls, it seems like, at least from like my history here of throwing them up, is that it feels like people tend to lean like the more obvious player. Last week, look at this poll last week. DJ Dallas got the most votes. He had 38% of the votes. Damian Harris right behind him at 34%, which in reality they both, scored in that order. DJ Dallas first, and Damian Harris. Third votes was Cole Beasley, and then Henry Ruggs. The Twitterverse actually voted this poll out the way they actually scored. So maybe Twitter's onto something here. Maybe I'm gonna start throwing a poll up before I do the episode and get who Twitter says, and then I'm going to use them against you guys. Maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know. We'll see what Twitter says this week, but they were actually spot on last week in every regard. All right, that's our not so obvious locks of the week for week 10. Jump over to foul or no foul. The first one I have here for you guys, it's a gentleman that we actually spoke about earlier in the episode. I kept these all football related this week. James Robinson is currently a top 5 back in fantasy PPR score, and we talked about this. And barring injury, he'll finish the season in that top 5 category. Adam, foul or no foul?
I'm going to say foul. It's super close. I think he'll be top 10 for sure. But I think that he might fall out of favor in that top 5 range. Mm-hmm. It's just there's so much to happen throughout the rest of the year. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and it's not like there's anybody who obviously is going to jump ahead of him. I just think probability-wise, he'll more likely to not fall out of that. But I mean, as far as him being a top 10 guy, it's like a lock.
Yeah. I love highlighting James Robinson just because I think it's so cool that a undrafted free agent running back is doing this amazing. I love it. So, Josh, foul or no foul?
I think he makes it, especially if you get to say like only if he's healthy, because that's such a huge advantage at that position.
Yeah.
James Robinson he's been nothing but good. I don't know if I want anything to do with him in 2021. Like I'm still a little bit gun shy from my Alex Collins, nightmare.
I got you.
But I think he's good for the rest of the year.
All right. That's fair. All right, the next one here. The Bucks, the Tampa Bay Bucks, have 3 wide receivers who are locked in as no less than a flex start each week, rest of season. Foul or no foul, Adam?
It's a foul, and it sucks, but that's just the reality of it. I mean, it's so crazy. I think I mentioned it on the pod before, but I often play with the Buccaneers on Madden, and right now they're just insane. It's so crazy that does not translate, but it does not translate. So, I mean, it seems like Mike Evans is an afterthought just because Tom Brady doesn't push the ball downfield, and that's what Mike Evans is good at. Chris Godwin's going to have some relevance, but he's been banged up all year. Antonio Brown looked okay in his first week. I mean, he looked great, but his usage was okay. Gronk had been getting consistent usage, so I think that more than anything, it's just going to be so hard to find anyone in that offense reliable week to week because they've got so many options there that if they even have a good week, it's going to be, hit and miss for who it is each week that actually is productive.
Yeah. It's a weird situation, man. It sucks because, there's big time fans of all these guys, people everywhere. We all love them. And it's, on the field as far as how they perform out there. We love what they're capable of, and it's just it sucks when nobody goes off or they all just kind of eat into each other's production. But Josh, do you feel like when you have these guys in your team that are there players that you really feel like you feel super confident about starting over these guys?
I would start all 3 of these guys. I feel like it might be a frustrating own where like you were saying, it could be a Patriots backfield type of a feel for us for the rest of the year. But I think that these 3 guys are going to create a lot of offense and probably score some unpredictable fantasy points. So, buckle up.
Yeah, it'll be exciting, to see how they grow as far as the rest of this year. If it continues to, get better and better and better, or if there's just this kind of stagnant thing, we'll see how it, how it plays itself out. The last one I have here, I think, is interesting. Richie James Jr., after 9 receptions, 184 yards, and a touchdown, will become damn near irrelevant once all the starting wide receivers are back for San Francisco. And that's Bourne, that's Debo, that's Ayuk. Foul or no foul, Adam?
I'm going to say foul, and it's weird to say foul because it seems like it should definitely, just be a flash in the pan kind of situation. However, we've now seen Travis Fulgham basically ascend in a similar situation. we've seen Jacoby Myers on New England ascend now in a similar situation. I think it's possible that Richie James does that as well. I mean, Chase Claypool's another example in Pittsburgh. So I think if you're young, you have that opportunity. San Francisco is very interesting in how they use their playmakers. So I definitely think that they're one of those few teams that I could see scheme well enough to utilize that skill set. So if you're able to have that sort of big spike performance, I think it's possible, but it's really just going to take them scheming specifically for him, or injuries to continue to occur for him to get an opportunity.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Josh, do you agree with Adam or do you disagree?
I do think that Kyle Shanahan is the exception to the rule in the sense that he knows how to really utilize a player. And if there's a place in the NFL where a player can make a huge boom and then completely fade, it's probably San Francisco. So I'm cheering for Richie James. I would like very much for him to just become sort of a mainstay, but I think it's more likely that when all of the players come back that he resumes being a backup singer.
Right. And shout out again to Jordan last week, because he did say if there's any wide receiver that he cares about in San Francisco last week, it was Richie James. So shout out to him for making that call. If anyone,
he crushed that one.
Yeah, if anyone acknowledged it and made a move, adjusting, you paid off. All right, that's all I have for Foul or No Foul. Let's jump over to Show and Tell and close this bad boy out. Show and Tell is the segment where Adam, Josh, and I will share something, a product, a podcast, music, book, thought, advice, anything we want right now with the listeners, anything you're feeling that you want them to know about. And you guys feel free to send us stuff too if you guys feel like we should be doing stuff, because this segment has spurned a lot of great ideas and a lot of great things that people have recommended to me afterwards. So shout out to everybody who else, who sends stuff to us also. I will start it off today, guys. I want to throw this out there because obviously we don't get too political on the podcast really. But obviously it's very clear right now that our country is in a weird place and that everyone's kind of pulling one way or the other. But I think that whether you're political or not, or whether you care about politics at all, or any of that kind of stuff, that you should still be educated on it, that you should still kind of know what's going on, like what's really happening, not what Facebook is telling you, not what, your friend at the job is telling you, but just like really what's going on. And I listened to this podcast by NPR, just called the NPR Politics Podcast. And I think it's cool because it's just like usually around like 15 minutes long. And each day they drop an episode. And it's just like a dope way to kind of quickly stay up to date on what's happening. Like, political news, political, situations that are occurring. And I think it's not too heavy. It's not like something that stresses you out or that like puts this burden on you when you hear like, oh, it's not like a bunch of negativity or nothing. It's just a couple people that are, super in depth and immersed in politics, and that's their careers. And they talk about it. And like I said, it's like 15 minutes long, and they'll hit up, a couple of subjects a day, or maybe it's one topic that's huge that they talk about. So I just think it's a smart way to stay educated on it while not beating yourself up with it or being dragged into like negative conversations or anything like that. So the NPR Politics Podcast, 15 minutes politics, just get your dose for the day, just to stay on top of this stuff, because it does matter, even though a lot of people don't want to discuss it because it's heavy. But it's a good way to just stay in tune and just keep yourself in check with it. That's what I got, guys. That's what I got. Adam, Josh, either one of you want to jump out here with something that you want to share?
Yeah, I came to the table with something this week. In all the years we've done the podcast, I do not know that I've ever recommended music. So I feel a little insecure, but I'm gonna try and hold strong, because it's not. It's not every day that I come across an album that like I end up playing on repeat, but that happened recently. Actually, over the summer, this band released a single that I was a big fan of. I'd never heard of them before. Came across this single and was really excited to see what else they would produce, and they finally released the album. The band is called Stoplight Observations, and the album's called Orange. It just came out last month, and it's a real short album. It's only 7 songs, and they're described as a Southern electro rock band. But really, like, the things that I hear most in it is they have kind of like a little bit of a Motown funk Southern rock feel, but they're super unique in the sound play, and really, more than anything, I think it has phenomenal production value and just great sound mixing, and overall just has like a really cool listening experience. So yeah, I really highly recommend it. At only 7 tracks, it's one of those albums where I feel like every song hits perfectly and there's no filler, which I really appreciate. Typically I like albums that are more in like the 12, like 10 song range at the lowest, but for what it is, it really is like a perfect listen. I mean, the whole album is just over 20 minutes, and it's one of those albums too where I feel like if you listen to the first track and you like it, you're gonna love the album. If you listen to the first track and you don't like it, it's probably not for you.
Well, we're definitely gonna make Adam insecure and like listen to this and judge him for it next week. We're gonna come back and just give you what we really think about it, Adam.
I don't know how Neal's going to feel. I think Josh will love it.
I don't know how to feel about you saying that, actually. I feel insulted.
Nah, I mean, you have a specific genre that you are a very, very big fan of. I don't know your musical taste outside of that. Josh is much more like mainstream, and I think is also somebody who is going to hear most things and go like, yeah, I kind of like that. So,
all right,
just accurate. Yeah,
I don't see Josh being very critical of most music.
Let's go, Josh. What you got, man? Give us a musical thing. Come on.
Okay, a musical thing.
I'm just messing with you.
Whatever you got, Josh.
I don't have a musical thing. Okay. I read this book. It's an actual paper book. It's 60 pages long, so some would call it a pamphlet.
Yeah, that sounds pretty light.
It's a book. This is another super cheesy self-help thing called Boundaries. That's the main word in the title. There's some other words, but Boundaries, and the author is Adeline Birch.
Oh, and I actually have heard of this book.
Oh my gosh, I read it and I felt stupid for having not read it. Like I don't want people to think that they're stupid, but just it felt like the kind of thing that was so elementary that I felt like it was knowledge I should have had my whole life. That's the kind of thing it was. And it's just so simple and just plain, and I just feel like this should be some part of public education, but it isn't. And I recommend it.
Just curious. My understanding, it's about like forming personal boundaries with like yourself and people around you. Is that essentially what the idea is? Yeah,
it really is. It really is. But I feel like it's worth a read.
Yeah, a quick description. It says, this book is small but mighty. If you were involved in a pathological relationship or you want to prevent it from happening in the first place, this book is for you. It gets to the heart of the matter of personal boundaries. I should read this book because I don't even know what the fuck a pathological relationship is.
Well, I was trying not to say those words because I feel like that will scare a lot of people off. But I feel like it's just... what is pathological relationship, Josh? Like controlling or something? What is pathological relationship?
Okay. Wait, I can do this. Neal, do you understand what a pathological liar is?
Yes.
Okay. So in the sense of a pathological liar, what does that mean to be a liar who is then pathological? I'm teaching.
It's like someone who just does it like on impulse, right? Like they just lie to lie, I feel like.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a good way to think about it. So carry that context over.
So a relationship that's just a relationship, just to be in a relationship?
Like there are lots and lots of people in the world who, without thinking about it, and who cannot help themselves from taking more than they should take, taking advantage of you.
Well, before Josh interrupted, you were really close. It's compulsionary.
Okay. Gotcha.
Gets involved in relationships almost as like a compulsion, and essentially the idea of creating boundaries. I haven't read the book, but I've heard it brought up in personal development circles that I'm in, and essentially the context in that regard is being like a pathological relationship would be a relationship that is like chaotic and you're not observant of it.
Interesting. Was it Small But Mighty, Josh, the book?
Yeah, it really was.
All right. I mean, it sounds like it's worth checking 60
out. Pages. I'm not a reader, folks, and I read this book.
What size is the font? We're talking about 60 pages. We got super small font, some big font. What are we talking about?
This book.
How many pictures are there?
Yeah,
Josh?
we talking about children's book size font.
So, like, I don't know, okay, maybe I might be sounding like a 38-year-old here, but imagine how thick your checkbook is. Like, we all still have checkbooks, right? We all still write some checks for bills.
Yeah, I think so.
That's how thick this book is.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty thin. Okay. All right. I don't know how many letters they fit on each page. Could be overwhelming, but we'll see.
If you're like me, you're going to power through this book in like 2 or 3 days, which is really not saying that much because it's 60 pages, but oh my gosh.
That's 20 pages a day, man. It's an accomplishment. All right. So, hey, check out that podcast. Check out that book. Check out that music. See what you like. Take what you do. Leave what you don't. It's very simple. And like I said, if you have any recommendations, we'd love to hear it too. Josh can be found on Twitter at JC Crocker.
When there's power.
When there's power, which quote unquote power. Wink, wink.
Oh, right.
Yeah, sure. Adam can be found at the other FF guy. They've both been hard to find since they've gotten their Manscaped razors, but they're around. They're around. I think they use that thing for more things than probably recommended. But that's okay. They're loving it, and that's all that matters. You can find me at Clock Dodgers on Twitter and Instagram and all those good places. If you haven't already, slap that subscribe button. Drop us a 5-star review. We love seeing what you guys say. We love seeing the comments and the thoughts and the feedback. And we love you coming back each week, so we appreciate that. Again, speaking of Manscaped, one more reminder. Get on this deal before the offer ends. It's 20% off your entire purchase, plus free shipping. All you have to do is use the promo code ClockDodgers, and it's yours. You can share it with your friends. You can share the code with family. Tell them it's an early Christmas gift. I mean, do what you want to do. However you want to slice it. I mean, if you want to buy it for the gift and give it to them, that's fine. You get the discount. You got to tell them about it. Or you can just give them the code and let them get the discount. It's great either way. But shout out to anyone who has already made purchases using our promo code. We appreciate it. Can't thank you enough for it. It is, like I said, it is coming to an end soon. So if you do want to take advantage of it, that promo code ends on the 19th, I believe. So definitely take advantage of it while you can. And also just a reminder, or not even a reminder, but just so anyone knows, in case you think that you have to go on there and buy like a specific thing or spend a specific amount of money to support us, you don't have to do that. You could buy the entire kit. Some people have done that already. You could buy just the boxers, which we all can attest to here. They're amazing. Or even just some mints. They're like $5 or something like that. They're not that expensive, but just the purchase using that promo code, you get in the discount and the free shipping. It helps us. So, whatever you can do, it matters. If you can't do it, it's fine too. We appreciate it either way. But just wanted to remind you guys one more time, if you haven't used the promo code, use it while you got the chance. Other than that, be kind, be great, keep dodging.